An additional facet emerging from the June 23rd Supreme Court ruling in favor of the right to conceal carry a firearm outside the home can be found in studying the way that numerous popular media outlets subsequently spouted the same erroneous claim that the Thomas written majority opinion somehow expanded the right to keep and bear arms. A little bit of logic, a touch of historical knowledge, and fundamental philosophy might have come in handy for these so-called news sites. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. You know, shortly after the ruling Thursday, the display began. Our friends at the Associated Press, sometimes mistaken for the Associated Propagandists, and of course their reporter Jessica Gresco, offered what will be the first of a very familiar and misleading series of similar mischaracterizations, publishing this headline, quote, "Supreme Court expands gun rights with nation divided," end quote. Okay, jumping into this same dirty waters, The Hill decided they'd step forward, and their reporter John Cruzel offered their erroneous banner. Quote, "Supreme Court expands gun rights in major Second Amendment ruling," end quote. Okay, and not to be outdone, Reuters and their duo Katherine Jackson and Richard Cohen, displaying their own similar brand of idiotic braying. Quote, "U.S. House passes gun safety legislation as court expands gun rights," end quote. And what parade of misinforming parrots would be complete without a local California news story being picked up and propagated nationally? Via Yahoo, we get the Los Angeles Fox affiliate TV 11 wailing, quote, "Supreme Court expands gun rights. What will this mean for California?" End quote. Well, if Californians allow themselves to be misled by your headline, oh great Channel 11, it means more of their time spent living in ignorance of the English language, philosophy, and the nature of rights. So for those media standouts whom I've mentioned earlier, and perhaps those reporters and editors willing to follow in their errant path someday, here are a few handy, irrefutable pointers. First, rights pre-exist the polis, i.e. the state, i.e. the government. God imbues man with natural individual rights that only each person as an individual has the God-granted prerogative to voluntarily attenuate when interacting with others who may do the same. The state can't create rights. The state can't expand rights. It's a little reminder for these reporters and editors. The state or polis is not in any way a protector of rights or an expander of rights. All of its agents always are threats, and all its agents can do is actually lay off at various times, and for a stretch, perhaps leave us a little less threatened, which is what the Supreme Court ruling Thursday actually tells New York State it's supposed to do, based on the Second Amendment, which prohibits any infringement on the right to keep and bear arms. This slipshod approach to rights from these reporters and from people in government is a perennial problem. And we're really seeing it here in the pop media with these examples. Of course, the various arms of the government Leviathan are like this all the time as well. In fact, not only do I and other liberty-minded writers repeatedly have to tell people in government and the media that rights pre-exist the state and that the state exists only as an aggressor at the expense of rights, we also have to remind them of the origin of the word right itself. It was only June 7th when I did just that because El Presidente, Joe Biden, is either completely ignorant of or antagonistic to natural rights. I think it's possible that he's both. As I noted, quote, the term right stands for hands off and is universal for all people, meaning that each of us has an equal right to be left alone. Rights are negative in nature, not positive. The idea of a positive right to something provided by another person is not a right. It's an immoral claim posited by agents of the state. In other words, it's an attempt to enslave. End quote. And I added this, which reporters and editors and politicians might want to remember. Quote, the term right has its origin in Old English, Saxon, Middle Dutch, and Medieval German. It pertains to proper, which in those days was associated with right-handedness and stemmed from both the belief at the time that people who were left-handed were not functioning properly and from the biblical observation of the Messiah being the right hand of God. End quote. In other words, oh great journalists at the AP, The Hill, Reuters, Yahoo, and yes, you too, Fox 11 in California. The Thomas-led majority on the Supreme Court Thursday did not expand the right to keep and bear arms. An entity that exists by way of infringement of rights cannot ever expand rights. And to argue otherwise is to either exist in a fantasy world or to intentionally mislead. Well, enough said, everybody. I'm glad we were able to discuss this. Sometimes even their mistakes give us opportunities to spread the word of truth. We get it, and we really appreciate the great support of viewers and visitors to MRC TV who get it as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Please spread the word. Let's enlarge our circle of friends. Head to MRCTV.org. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Rumble, where they don't censor us. Rumble, don't censor us. And of course, we're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I'm on Gab at Gardner Goldsmith, and I'm on Twitter at Gard Goldsmith. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.